boldip.com.
Hello and welcome to the Bold Inventor Show. I'm your host, JD Houvener, with my co-host, Matt Kulseth.
Hey, buddy. How are we doing?
With the Bold Patents team here. I'm on patent side. Matt's on the trademark side.
Yep.
And we're doing it again.
Trademarks, for sure.
Yes.
All day. All I do. Trademarks.
No way. You know what? We should totally do this like competition, patents versus trademarks. We should have a sort of a nice camaraderie competition of sorts. Now it's like, who's going to have the longest delay in the patent office? Patents or trademarks?
I just got done emailing a client who we had to file a petition to, basically extend or revive an abandoned application because we missed a deadline. Our client missed a deadline back in October, and the government has still not responded to that petition to revive. It's insane. And that's not the only one. I talked to another client yesterday who had one from August still.
That's brutal.
I just don't know.
They've all, taken voluntary layoffs, and right?
I don't know what the story is. Maybe I know they lost quite a bit of people for the volunteered.
No, that is actually absurd to take. Well, it's April now, so yeah, nearly 6 months just to get back to you on a response. They're already working on it. Yeah, so it looked like the director's office, basically revived it, and then they sent it back to our examiner, and for whatever reason, she hasn't, looked at it. So now, our client is beyond the extension period of the last extension period, if that makes sense. But we can't do anything because we're in this, weird spot. Anyways. Yeah.
USPTO stuff, it's a mess.
Okay. Well, but you've got it. You've got your client taken care of. You're representing them.
Yeah, we're doing the best we can with what we got, right? But it's frustrating because what do you do in those situations, right? You send the emails out to the Trademark Assistance Center, right? You call them. You just email bomb the examining attorney, right, for a response. And
Yep. Hey, Philip, good to see you again. Glad to have you on. Well, Matt, hang in there, man. Yeah, it sounds like we're another reason perhaps, to have a representative. As an individual, as an entrepreneur, I just get pissed off and want to call everybody irate. And so having someone like you, calm, level-headed, even though you're expressing your concern now, you're going to be the best way to get a hold of those attorneys at the patent office, the trademark office. All right, well, we've got two guests waiting backstage, everybody. We've got Julio Martinez as well as Facel Casta-Baez, two awesome guests we saw on our title up here, Emu Comfort. That's Facel's invention, pillow to design. And then Julio's going to be on talking about medical devices. So I think a pillow may or may qualify as a medical device. We'll find out.
Depending on the claims, right?
Yeah, right. How they're marketing and all that. So I'm very, very fortunate to have these guests on. So we'll get to them shortly. We do have five. Yeah, go ahead.
What a great thing to have a medical device expert on, because so many of our clients play in this field, right? Speaking with a client this morning who is going to be going in this direction. He's going to need someone like Julio to help advise him on how to put a team together for clinical trials and product development. So perfect timing.
Yeah, wonderful. Philip, we are not litigators. Bold Patents, we're mostly on the prosecuting side, the getting of the patents and the getting of the trademark. I know Matt does a bit more toward a pre-litigation flexing, if you will.
I like that. Pre-litigation flexing.
Little flex.
I definitely
do. Have you ever stepped in a federal court digitally, virtually, or real life, Matt? Done any litigation?
Yeah. So at Trademark Trial and Appeal Board, they will do hearings remotely. So it's just it's a conference call essentially with the interlocutory judge. But yeah, that's about the extent of my federal court appearances.
Gosh,
My name is Matt Kulseth.
You're much more senior than I, sir. Well, congrats on that. Philip got a referral. Please send it over. Much appreciated, Philip. Appreciate that. Mm-hmm. Let's knock out a couple questions, and we've had these piling up now for a couple of weeks. Before I do that, I want to make sure I get to my disclaimer. We got 5 live viewers. Flex it out, Jonathan. We do appreciate you jumping on. No, this is not a confidential forum. We're not going to be providing any legal advice for you specifically. We're just going to be talking about legal information, our knowledge, what's going on in the systems. So offer up your questions so long as they're not going to be confidential. If you do have anything you want to talk about in secret, and talking with an attorney, have attorney-client privilege, you can do that by scheduling a free discovery call. I'll provide that link here in just a little bit. So there's a legal notice. I got it out there. A little late, better late than never.
General counsel will be very happy with you.
Yes. Okay. Let's go to some questions. We've had Amira just been piling these up on our Reddit page, as well as our LinkedIn and Quora. I'm gonna give one for you just because I don't know. I feel like giving you a nice one. Let's get warmed up.
I'm in the mood, man. Let's do it.
Okay. We did that one. We have so many here. All right. That's another T-shirt one. I think everybody can relate to T-shirt questions.
Yeah, T-shirts are great.
All right.
Love it.
I apologize if this is a repeat. It'll be a little warm up. I'm a content creator who said some semi-popular phrases, and I want to sell T-shirts with those phrases on them. Should they be trademarked first?
Well, you've already come up with the name, the semi-popular phrase, so no, it doesn't need to, right? No, I mean, yes, you can file them before, during, or after you're using the trademarks. So, yeah, they certainly could. Now, like the tricky thing about apparel and trademarks and semi-popular phrases is there's a lot of ways the USPTO can say that that's not actually functioning as a trademark. It's not a source identifier. If it's just a catchphrase, right, it does not necessarily connect that consumer to your apparel product, it's not a trademark. So a couple of ways that you need to look at that is, one, a trademark is used, in typical traditional trademark place for apparel, which is the upper left breast pocket area, or on the tag itself. Those are the two places the USPTO says that's a trademark. So it can't be in big font letters in the front, right? It's got to be in a specific location on the apparel. And then the second thing is it can't be a common phrase, phrase that's used in common vernacular.
Yeah.
And it can't be descriptive, right? And again, it has to function as a trademark. It can't just be an ornamental design. It has to have trademark significance, source identifying significance. Speaking
of semi-popular phrases, Bold Patents has got one: "Go big, go bold." For example, I've used that a lot over the years.
That's great.
What do you think? If I were to put that on,
did we register that? We must have registered that, right?
We did.
We got the Q's portfolio. That's registrable as a trademark.
Okay, perfect. But on not related to an apparel. We're not a manufacturer of T-shirts, apparel.
No, I don't see us going into the apparel business.
No. Okay, but I certainly could blazon that, but doesn't give me any significant benefit.
I mean, if you want to send me like a vest or something with Bold IP on it, I'll throw that on for client calls.
Perfect. You handle that well. Okay, let's do one more. This is on the patent side. Thank you, Matt, for that.
I'll let you handle the patent question. How's that?
Yeah, thank you. Well, and you're welcome to jump in. So is it possible to sue for patent infringement? Yes. While patent is under patent pending status. Okay. It's always possible to enter suit, allege certain claims.
That's what I always tell clients. You can sue anyone for anything.
You can. So definitely the answer is yes, it's possible. Should you is probably the better question. And the answer is no. Unfortunately, while an application is pending, you have no rights. And it's kind of a heartbreaker to tell clients this, that there's no legal rights until the patent is granted. Now, you do have some sort of pseudo rights, we call them. You've got the ability to put actual infringers, potential infringers on notice.
And what's the benefit of that? Why would you want to put them on notice?
Big benefit. If they decide to, after seeing that notice, and you can sort of get one of those read receipts or even a certified mail, right, with a signature confirming their receipt, and they continue to infringe, that's a willful infringer. And now you can allege and negotiate additional damages, up to treble damages. It's called
treble damages and attorney's fees.
Yes, getting big trouble. And otherwise, it's a good thing to do. The patent office does it for you by publishing your patent application. But
that's constructed notice.
Constructed, yeah. And it's sort of, you'd want to be able to send that to them, or really notify. And a lot of the times that's done through things like cease and desist letters or a notice letter. And you can do that. So unfortunately, no rights to actually threaten and, assert your allegations in federal court, or even at the ITC, the Customs Border Protection. You do have to wait until your patent gets granted.
Yep. Same on the trademark side. Exact same.
Trademarks. Okay.
You can't really do any enforcement until you have that registration certificate in hand.
All right. Here we go. Let's go one more each, and then we'll get to our guests here. And feel free to ask away if you got questions out there on our live audience. We'll put you to the front of the line. All right. My company has 2 trademark registration in process. In the U.S., both received a non-final office action, with both were responded and are waiting for the attorney from the USPTO to decide.
Yep.
We do have a 3rd mark we want to register. The logo is similar to both marks on the process. If we request this 3rd mark to trademark registration, would that hurt the other 2 that are going on right now?
Good question. So this gets at trademark strategy, right? So a lot of times we have clients who are in multiple different classes at the USPTO. Maybe one of those classes we think we're going to have a problem with. So, if we think one of the applications might have a likelihood of confusion with a prior filed application or registration, maybe we don't want to file that one until the other applications have been reviewed by the USPTO examiner. Because what I don't want to do is stir the pot, have an issue with one application over here, and have that issue impute to the other applications because they're all related.
Okay.
The USPTO will do that.
Cool.
So this kind of gets at talking to your attorney about the strategy. And in this particular case, I would say if there's any hesitation to file based on likelihood of confusion or descriptive issues or whatever, don't file it right away. File the other ones first. Wait until they've been approved by the USPTO. You get that notice of allowance, then file it.
Got it. So that's similar on the patent side, where you have that parent application and you have something close or similar. We say timeout. Let's wait for that examiner to either restrict or to come up with a rejection. Then you can file what's called a child patent. A little different process, but it sounds like you want to basically get that thumbs up first and then sort of a green light to file subsequent.
Exactly. And that's a strategy too that we use for clients who have maybe a somewhat descriptive trademark. Maybe it's not nearly descriptive, but it's borderline. And we're thinking we're going to get pushback. Maybe we file that design trademark first, it registers, and then we cite that trademark registration in our wordmark application afterwards.
Oh, that's awesome. Very, very good. Thank you, Matt.
I think I will say, like in my 14 years doing this, that's kind of something that, as you get more and more experience, you get more reps under your belt, that strategy becomes more apparent.
Yes. Love it. All right, let's do this last one here. This touches on a couple different areas of IP. Is it possible to copyright and patent the same thing at the same time? An interesting question here. So,
might as well copyright, right?
Yeah, might go for the full triple in park home run and keep it as a trade secret too. So, I mean, you can do certainly a filing with the Copyright Office, and I don't claim to be a copyright registration expert. From my understanding of that process with the Library of Congress, it's a separate governing body. There's no examiners at the Copyright Office. Its main purpose is to register and just create an undeniable database of when something was submitted, by who. Here is the substance of the work, of the artistic work, whether it's written, visual, sculpture, and that's it. And so it can act as a nice, on its face, evidence of a submittal by a alleged author. There's no requirement for novelty, right? It doesn't need to be one of a kind. Doesn't need to have certain rules with respect to commerce like trademark does. So I suppose if you've got, a three-dimensional work of art you think might also be worthy of design patent protection, maybe you could file that sculpture as a piece of artwork with the Copyright Office and file as a design patent with the U.S. Patent Office. And you could secure both. And if you're going to be selling that sculpture, you might as well consider going into business and filing a trademark for your business too. And keeping the methods for how to make that thing as a trade secret. So there it is. Awesome.
I hate copyright filings, by the way.
Okay, you do handle them though. So
I do. I just hate them.
Now let's bring on our first guest. And I've been working on saying her name correctly for quite a while. It's Facel, I hope, Casta-Baez. Facel, welcome to the show.
Thank you for the invite. I'm eager to share with you guys the lessons that I have learned along the way as inventor at Emu Comfort.
Oh my gosh. Well, it'll be quite an honor. How did I do on saying your name?
Facel.
Facel. All right.
You didn't say good.
Matt's like, okay. So you have got a lot going on. I've noticed on your signature block, you've got a woman-owned small business. You have got, and you're from, I believe, Puerto Rico. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, and you've developed the Emu Comfort product line, the business, in at least 2 separate designs for pillows. But I'd love to kind of hear about how you got the business started, and then we'll kind of talk about the innovation as well as we go. But how did you get started with Emu Comfort?
Absolutely. Well, for me, everything started with a need. It wasn't because I was looking for a market opportunity. When I was 22 years old, I used to work in a call center without headsets. And the volume of calls were around 200 calls daily, and the repetitive motion doing like this all the time get me an injury in my neck and back at one point that I wasn't able to move. One night I had a pain insomnia episode. I wasn't able to sleep due to the strong pain. And I imagined the pillow that I would need in order to rest. So the next day when I woke up, I drew the pillow that I envisioned that night. And while I was drawing, I imagined the second pillow and the pillowcases. And that's how everything started for me, with a necessity. After that, I conducted several researches. The first research was the prior art. I went to the PTRC to conduct the prior art research and look on the USPTO database to see if the ornamentality of the pillows that I envisioned were already on the market. So I looked for over 300 pillows and noticed that the pillows were not on the market. And that was one of the research. The second research was related to how the USPTO requires the drawings. The third research was related to dimensions. I used to measure Puerto Rican craniums in order to get the measurements of the products. And I also used to play with memory foam densities to find the perfect density that would hold the muscle skeletal system of the human being. So then on 2017, I submitted my patent application. A lot of things happened that year. The Hurricane Maria hit the island and some storms hit the US. So the USPTO took like over a year to give me the response. It was till November 2018 that I received the patent granted without the necessity of an appeal. And to me, it was such a great achievement. I was so happy, but inner myself, I was feeling that something was missing. And it was that the invention, it was still on the imaginary world. It needed to be materialized. So I leveraged the researches related to raw materials and dimensions to create the prototypes. So once I received the prototypes, I noticed that the cervical pillow feeling sensation was very different from whatever other pillow I tried. And so I took half of the pillows and gave it to my family and friends, and half of them and gave it to some physicians who conducted an experimental phase. During the experimental phase that took a month, they found feasibility for 6 diagnoses, which are tinnitus, avoid ulcers by pressure, pain in the lower and upper extremities, sleep apnea, recovery from surgery, and TMJ. Once I received the green light from the physician, I decided to monetize the intellectual property and manufacture the first 500 units. And that's how I found serendipity.
Wow. My gosh, that story. That's very good. So
Yeah.
you face.
Well done.
Go ahead.
Oh, great job telling your story. It's been fantastic. I love looking at your pillows. They're absolutely fascinating looking. Can you describe them for us?
Absolutely.
And is there an emu involved in them?
Yeah, where's the emu? I want to see the emu.
Emu, yeah, they come in a travel bag because once you get used to there's no
It's coming
way
along.
back. No, you don't going to get used to another pillow that won't be this one.
Oh.
Yeah, so for the folks listening at home, so she's pulling it out of the package right now. It's a really interesting shape. It almost looks like a horseshoe, you know?
Well, I followed the source of my pain to imagine this pillow and draw this pillow. So this pillow is composed of an elongated body or an orthotic device attached to a C shape. So the elongated body will decompress the cervical spine and the shoulders, while the C shapes will control the micro movements of the head. So it will looks like this.
Mm-hmm.
You see, it's gonna.
That looks really comfortable.
It does look really comfortable.
Is it? I can live with it.
I'm not a back sleeper, though. Otherwise, I'd go out and buy one from you.
And if you are a side sleeper, you then gonna place the ear on the loophole like this.
That's kind of cool, isn't it?
Yeah, the loopholes ventilates 20 degrees less than any other pillow that would be on the market just because it has a loophole and it ventilates naturally. So yeah, it's such a terrific pillow. It's unique due to the unique ornamentality and multifunctionality.
I do want to show off your design patent. Matt, go ahead with your question.
No, go ahead.
All right. So do you have two? I want to make sure I get this one right. This one is for
the other one. I'm using the other one while speaking to you guys.
Oh, here, let's see. Let's do this one. We just showed this one. You mentioned, at the very end of 2018, granted January 22nd, 2019.
Yeah.
There it is. That's your design and the three-dimensional shape there.
And JD, how do folks at home know that it's a design patent?
Well, for those that don't know, they make it pretty easy. They put a D right in front of the number.
Oh,
and
how about
that is a design
patent.
patent.
D does not stand for dog, I take it?
No, it does not. It does not.
Right.
Yeah, it almost represents like the letter D, but no, let's not go there. Very unique. And then the other one, which I think she's going to show us soon, I want to just flash this up. You have two patents. Another design patent. This one was issued just a week after the first for a cylindrical pillow in this sort of a ornamental design, and it's like a half round, almost like reminds me of those very painful rollers I do on my leg.
Yep.
To try to free up some of that myofascial, that muscle tissue. So I'd love to see it back on screen. So if you have that one, show that, would you?
I was using that one while speaking to you to get comfort on my lumbar area. So the second one, which is the cylindrical orthopedic pillow, it can be used closed and open it. Closed can be used in the lower extremities as a leg spacer to separate the knees or below the knees to get support. Open it, it can be used in the lumbar area as I was using it, and it can also be used as another cervical pillow. It can be also used by belly sleepers in a vertical way. So
For the poor belly sleepers. Matt, you're not belly sleeper, are you?
I'm a tummy sleeper for sure.
Oh my!
I'm like a child.
Part of the 3%, it just never evolved and never decided. Just not breathing.
Not breathing, tummy sleeper.
Are you a belly sleeper?
Oh,
yeah. So here you have a solution. Your spine is gonna be aligned while sleeping.
Yeah, I should buy your pillow and just like duct tape myself to the bed so I can't move it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, can you guys present the X-rays images?
I can show your website. Does that do it?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, I'll show your website. I've got it pulled up, emucomfort.com. So I'm not sure this shows the X-ray, but will that maybe wait a little bit?
Yeah.
Okay.
A little bit, please.
Now, where are you manufacturing these pillows?
I'm currently manufacturing in China.
Okay.
And looking to manufacture in Puerto Rico.
And you're looking to manufacture in Puerto Rico. Okay.
Yes.
That would make sense.
Yes.
And I saw that you did file your own trademark application and you were successful. So congratulations on your trademark application.
Thank you. My trademark is Emu Comfort. Emu is the name of one of the largest birds in the world that has the same circadian rhythm as the human being. That's why we call it Emu, and comfort because we provide a unique comfort.
Yeah. Okay. That's cool.
Wonderful.
Terrifying animals.
Yeah.
Yeah. At the zoo, we're hoping they don't peck over the fence.
Sorry.
Let me show you. I have here the X-rays. I might show it to you.
Sure.
So here is how it looks. The cervical spine in supine position while sleeping with the cervical pillow. And this is how it looks. The cervical spine while sleeping in a traditional pillow. So as you can see, sleeping with a traditional pillow, the cervical lordosis is hyper straight, while by using the Emu Comfort pillow, you stimulates the natural cervical lordosis, which is like a C shape. And in this sense, the pillow is therapeutic.
Okay. Yeah. So you've really seen like a lot of your marketing, I guess your research as well, leaned into being able to make medical claims and say, you know what, this actually solves problems that people are having. It helped you, right? That was a necessity, sort of the mother of this invention. And talk to us about, so working with physicians, is it true they were all in Puerto Rico? And are you limited in terms of what you can allege or claim in the U.S. if you were to sell into the U.S.?
Well, that's a good question. When you are creating a new product because you are in a necessity, as I used to be, you don't even know in what industry are you. So at the beginning, when I launched the pillows, I was in novelty pillows industry. Then the users, most of them are veterans who likes a lot the cervical pillow. They started to make medical claims. Like they started to say, my eyes are less dry and my mouth is less dry since I use the cervical pillow because the leakage it has diminished, and I have proven in a quantitative way that the use of the cervical pillow, it's good because the next day I can prove it with the CPAP machine. I started to receive those feedback and I said, okay, I have to notify this to the health departments. So my company make a pivot from the novelty pillow industry to the medical device industry. And now we are into industry because the pillows are, since even if they are medical device, they are still novelties because they are patented, right? And the pivot was very strong because I had to reallocate the revenues towards compliance expenses. But today I feel proud about being able to take this pillow to the public health system of Puerto Rico, which is Medicaid Puerto Rico.
That's fantastic. What, if any, barriers would there be to sell the same pillow in the U.S.?
Well, we are now opening channels of sales in mainland, and we're going to be joining the International Medical Device event on this June 11. So we hope to do some networking and open those channels of sales.
That's fantastic.
You mind if I just jump in real quick, JD?
Yeah, you go for it.
I want to talk briefly about your trademark registration because it has a couple really interesting aspects to it that I think are useful for potential viewers at home. The first is that you filed the trademark application by yourself without an attorney, using yourself as the owner of the application, which I think a lot of folks, who may not know, but should know if they're filing trademark applications, you as a U.S. citizen, being a resident of Puerto Rico, can file trademarks in the United States because you're a U.S. citizen. So yeah. I get that question pretty frequently from U.S. territory folks, like, can we actually file this trademark? Do we need to go through an attorney? In Puerto Rico, you can file in the United States. So that's great. The second thing that's really cool about her application, JD, that's different than what I would have guessed initially, is instead of filing her application in the pillow class, which is class 20 at the USPTO, she filed in the medical device class. So different class of products entirely, not necessarily associated with one another, but she is in the medical class. And I don't know if she's got any FDA approval or anything like that, but you don't really need to claim a medical device at the USPTO. I get that question a lot. Just because you're claiming something as it has a medical benefit does not necessarily mean that you have to be registered as a medical device company or have FDA approval. So
that's pretty cool. It can be kind of persuasive, perhaps.
Yeah,
in terms of any FDA certification or medical device equipment.
Yep, but they're not necessarily intrinsically linked. And I would just say, like, if you do file another trademark application at some point, you should definitely look at doing maybe a pillow application, just for the letters Emu Comfort. That would be your next registration.
Yeah, it sounds great. Thanks, Matt.
We do have another guest waiting backstage who does know a thing or two about FDA compliance.
That's a good segue.
I think it'd be nice to bring him on. I know we've got more to talk about, Facel, so let's bring him on. Julio Martinez-Clark, welcome to the Bold Inventor Show.
Hey, guys. Good to see you all.
Hey, Julio.
I'm glad the discussion kind of got to where I think we wanted it in terms of having you on, and I appreciate your patience waiting backstage. Would you give us a brief intro on you and Bioaccess? And then we'll talk about Facel's invention.
Yes, I am the CEO of Bioaccess. I was born and raised in Colombia, and I moved to the States around 1995 or so. And we started with my brother Pedro, the only medical device contract research organization based in the U.S. that helps U.S.-based startups, medical device startups, do the validation, the clinical validation of the safety and efficacy of their devices and innovations. But we don't do that in the United States because it's very expensive, time-consuming, uncertain. It's difficult to get first-in-human or early feasibility trials approved in the United States. So a lot of medical device companies, the majority of them actually, go overseas. In Latin America, since it's right next door, is a perfect destination for first-in-human early feasibility medical device trials. So what we do is we match the study that the U.S. company has in mind, the design of the study, with the perfect hospital and investigator in the different countries in Latin America that can execute the protocol of the study to get the clinical data that the company needs to either raise more money because they already validated the efficacy and safety of the innovation, and or to speak with a potential acquirer. Like usually my clients or our clients at Bioaccess are companies that are spin-offs of universities in the US. They raise funds, they build a team, they do the preclinical testing, but their sole goal is to get acquired by Boston Scientific, Medtronic, Johnson & Johnson, the big players in the medical device world. So we help in obtaining that clinical data so that they can get acquired and or they can speak with the FDA about a larger pivotal study, which is the study that you need to get FDA clearance in the United States to commercialize innovation.
That's really interesting, Julio. So if I'm hearing you correctly, like your expertise is basically taking medical device startup companies who ultimately want to be acquired and go through some sort of FDA registration in the United States. But
yes,
before they do that, and that's all that time and money, they want to basically have some evidence for their investors that this is going to be successful if we do pursue it.
Exactly.
Okay.
What we sell, Matt, is time to market. We sell the hope that they're gonna get their clinical data really, really fast, because in the United States, as I said initially, is very, very uncertain to get FDA approvals, especially now with the layoffs of the FDA, etc.
Yep.
So it takes too long. I mean, it can take you a year or 2 or 3 just to get a patient on a table if you're talking about an implantable device, and to start gathering the data. Whereas in Latin America, in countries like Panama, like the Dominican Republic, in Paraguay, in Salvador, Costa Rica, you can get a site activated in 30 days, 45 days. So you can start recruiting patients really, really fast. So what we sell is really time to market for these companies.
Sure.
Because the burn rate of these companies is really high. They have, high profile professionals, world-class teams, their salaries are expensive. So they burn about 100, 200, 3,000, 100, $300,000 a month, just on salaries and expenses. And they cannot really wait that long to get studies approved in the United States.
Got it. In terms of your kind of clientele and their technology, in terms of medical devices, maybe we're thinking of a traditional implantable or surgical device tool. What about things outside of that? We mentioned pillows or orthotic devices. Do you help them think through whether this even would require an FDA certification? Would something like a pillow become a medical device? Have you ever?
Yeah. What happens is that for devices like a pillow, for example, they fall into a different category. Those are lower risk devices. So the burden of proof of clinical data is very low. So usually my clients are PMA, pre-market authorization, which means class 3 devices, high-risk devices, implantable devices. They're very novel, very innovative, and there's nothing like that in the market. That's why they get the $1 million in the bank from venture capital funds, because they want to 10x their investment. Because when they exit to Medtronic, for example, they make a lot of money. I mean, investors and everybody in the company. But for lower risk devices like 510K devices, a pillow is probably a 510K device, or is exempt from FDA registration. What companies do is they gather clinical data. They still do clinical trials but they do them for other reasons. They don't do the clinical trials to get FDA clearance necessarily. They do the clinical trials to claim therapeutic benefits, as we alluded to earlier, to say on their website, to say to potential key opinion leaders that are backing the innovation. Yes, we have studies that back our claims. We did 20 patients on this hospital. They all tried the pillow. We had them for 3 days sleeping on the pillow in different positions. So you design a study with certain endpoints in mind to validate your hypothesis that the pillow will fix this and that, or has these therapeutic benefits.
That's great. Got it. So kind of this first threshold question of what type of class of product is it? What is this merely, like you said, a 510K, which I believe is probably some form or procedure.
Yes, exactly. It's a pathway for regulatory approval.
And so you're, for the most part, you're seeing a lot of the more complicated class 3.
Yes.
Or class 2 high risk. Got it.
Exactly.
So talk about the timelines. Yeah. How long do things take? If they work with you versus
Yes, as I said initially, the red tape and the regulatory timelines in countries in Latin America is way less than in the United States, mainly because there are many reasons. The first reason is in Latin America, you don't have these large hospital systems like you have in the United States. So navigating the waters of these hospital systems, the bureaucracies, you have 20 meetings to agree on a Zoom meeting. So it's just insane. and then 20 meetings to agree on the submission to the IRB. And then the IRB takes forever to approve because they have so many studies going on, NIH-funded studies, etc. So if you're a startup, you're really competing for attention at these large hospital systems. Whereas in Latin America, you have just independent hospitals. You can pick up the phone and call the CEO of the hospital because he went to high school with you, and you can make things happen really quickly. Yep. So things move a lot faster. And also the red tape at the regulatory agencies is way less. And there's also a desire from all these countries to attract foreign direct investments. So if you have pharmaceutical companies, medical device companies sponsoring clinical trials, that impacts the local economies. That brings US dollars to the local economies, and that creates jobs and benefits patients, because the sponsor of the clinical trial is paying for the care of the patient, not the healthcare system, not the insurance company. So everybody wants clinical trials. And the patients benefit because they have access to innovative technologies that otherwise they wouldn't have access. And also they have quick access to the system, because on paper, the public healthcare systems in all these countries is ideal, but in reality, patients have to wait too long for appointments and care. So with a clinical trial, they have fast track access to the healthcare system. And so everybody benefits. And you have this transfer of knowledge, advanced knowledge from top US universities where these innovations really start, like MIT, Stanford, Harvard, and that knowledge is transferred to the local investigators, and that benefits everybody in the ecosystem.
Do you also handle the intellectual property? You know, I imagine at times you're dealing with clients that may have one or multiple patents filed, perhaps, and for other companies, medical institutions, foreign or in Latin America to begin using. Are there agreements in place regarding that pending IP and the confidentiality of it? How do you handle that? Have you seen it?
Yes. Usually, in every clinical trial, there is a contract. Of course, there's an agreement. It's called the clinical trial agreement. And a typical clinical trial agreement has a confidentiality provision, has an intellectual property provision, et cetera, et cetera. The rights to publications and things like that. So that's usually covered already in that contract. That's a standard in the industry.
And so it'd be nice for them. The US-based company has one contract with you, and then you have, is it true, the relationships with the several hospitals? Or
well, yes, the US company, yes and no. The US company signs a contract with us, but it's more like a master service agreement. Okay. And then there's another contract that because we're a service provider for the US company. And there's another contract which is signed between the three parties. The three parties are the sponsor of the clinical trial, the US company, the hospital in Colombia, for example, and the contract research organization, a company like Bioaccess, like my company. So the three parties are part of the whole project, and the three parties have to agree on the use of confidential information, on intellectual property protections and things like that. I mean, this is a very competitive space, so companies really, really safeguard their IP because they don't want anybody else to know that they're doing a study in Colombia with 20 patients. They're using this technology. Usually, they are in stealth mode. Right. So when they go to the market, when they publish the paper showing the good results of the study, they want to be the first, and they want to have fast access to Medtronic, Boston Scientific, and they don't want anybody. They don't want noise.
Very cool, Julio. This is. I was not aware that this existed. I mean,
really? Wow.
Basically pre-trial FDA trials.
Yes, exactly.
Done abroad. I wasn't aware that this existed. So this is really great information for me to have. And you mentioned this is a competitive field. So this is pretty common practice, you would say?
I'm sorry, what's that? What's the question?
Is this a common practice to do some kind of pre-FDA
yes.
trials?
Every single company needs to do a first-in-human trial before they talk to the FDA. Every company. Every company that is in the PMA pathway, FDA approval pathway, which means, as I said, class 3 high-risk devices.
What would you say is Bioaccess is? Do you have sort of a niche or a specialty type of product or pharmaceutical that you have been,
No, not really. Our genesis is really the University of Miami. We started inside the University of Miami, inside the cardiovascular department. My brother, Pedro, he trained at Harvard at the Beth Israel Medical Center as an interventional cardiologist. And his mentor at the University of Miami, once he finished his training at Harvard, he became part of the faculty, and another faculty member and the director of the program was Dr. William O'Neill. He's one of the top authorities in the world in interventional cardiology. And they were advising a lot of medical device companies that were working in the cardiovascular field through the university office. But the workload got so big helping cardiovascular startups with their first in human trials in Latin America that they decided to open a separate entity, a private separate entity, and separate that activity from the university because it's not really the core business of the University of Miami. So that's really the genesis of Bioaccess. And the word got out, and we started getting calls from ophthalmology companies, orthopedics company, neurology companies. So right now we are in like 7 different therapeutic areas in about 8 countries in Latin America.
Got it. Well, let's switch back over to our other guest who is in, I wrote down cervical pillows, right? So Facel, any parting words? We're going to wound up our interview here. I got our final part is going to be a Shark Tank segment. Anything else you'd like to jump in with after hearing Julio or for our audience here?
Absolutely. I would like to give some insights to the audience. To me, the intellectual property or the patents are like a house or a home. With the home, you can leave the home, you can rent the home, or you can not leave the home and wait till become a nuisance. So saying this, when you have a patent, you're gonna monetize your intellectual property, it's very important that you have a NDA with a non-solicitation clause, even if you before or after the patent granted. It's important to protect the strategies that monetize the intellectual property as well with that NDA. I would also add that I think it's very important to have a company values linked to the operations of the company and to the potential business partners. As Peter Drucker says, culture, it's a strategy for breakfast. Those are my insights as inventor during the last years.
Yeah, love it.
Thank you. If anyone out there listening live or after the fact, would you be willing to provide your email address if they could reach out to you for some mentorship and advice? Are you open to sharing your email? Okay.
Sure, absolutely. It's Facel, FACEL @emucomfort.com.
Oh, fantastic. Well, stay with us. We're going to go to our next segment. But yeah, feel free to contact Facel. And I'll ask the same of you, Julio. Would you mind sharing your email address if anyone has questions about those types of pre-FDA trials in Latin America?
Want his email.
I think, yeah, Facel maybe wants it. Maybe there's some further discussion.
Yes, we can do something together, Facel.
Okay.
J as in Julio, JM as in Martinez, Clark, CLARK @Bioaccess, LA as LatinAmerica.com. JM Clark @Bioaccessla.com.
Got it. There it is. Excellent.
Yes, correct.
Well, we're gonna keep you guys on. If you would please go on mute. Matt as well, unless you had any final parting thoughts, Matt, before we go to our next segment.
Nope, let's do it.
All right, let's do it. I'm going to switch over and we'll take a look at a Shark Tank pitch and we're going to critique that. All right. Matt, give me a thumbs up on the audio if you're able to hear when it starts running.
First into the tank is a customized version of a bedtime essential.
Sharks, I'm Susanna.
I'm Kevin, and we're seeking $400,000 for a 5% equity stake in our company, Pluto Pillow.
Now, I know what you're all thinking. Another pillow company? Well, yes, but thankfully, here at Pluto, we do things differently.
See, finding the perfect pillow can be so amazing, but finding the right pillow for you can also be super hard.
Here's how it usually goes. While shopping online, you're faced with an overwhelming number of options that can be hard to compare with one another. And with tens of thousands of search results, how do you know which would work best for you? In stores, is it better to squeeze pillows with your hands, or should you awkwardly place your head on the dirty display pillows? The answer is both suck.
Well, with Pluto, there's a better way.
Pluto is a custom pillow company that custom builds pillows to you based on your body stats, how you sleep, and what you like.
Here's how it works. Simply visit our website, fill out a quick questionnaire, tell us about your current pillow, what you like, what you didn't like about it, then answer a few questions about your personal preferences. Then all of your data run through our algorithm, helping us create the perfect pillow for you.
Our modular design allows us to create over 35 possible variations through our innovative process.
The best part, while there are a ton of pillows out there, nobody else does this. Even better, our customers love us.
So sharks, before you hit snooze, which one of you will join us in helping everyone get a good night's sleep? 197K when we first started, 2019, 473K, and this year so far it's 490K.
There you go.
Wow. What's the average sales price?
We sell our standard sizes for 95.
How are you manufacturing?
So how this works is if you guys open up your pillows, inside there's actually a foam core, and it's surrounded by a plush outer cover. So there's these two main parts. And through our questionnaire, when it goes through our algorithm, the computer actually decides like, hey, this person needs this foam with that plush cover. So
someone's in the facility picking,
yes,
putting
they just
together,
pick it, put it together and box it.
Just two components and variations of those two components.
Yeah, two components make over 35 variations that feel really different.
One pillow, you sell it at $95.
Yes.
And then what does it cost you, including fulfillment, and what do you have left?
So $95, $18 shipping, and it costs us $25 to $30 to make the pillow.
So $43.
So you only have about 50% margin.
Yes. So with that, it's 50 to 60, just cost of goods sold.
So that's not a big ratio.
Yeah, it sounds like your gross margin structure is not so good. Is there a reason why? Because no matter how much you grow, if you gross margin not
Here, it was actually just us two. We boxed every pillow. We answered all the customer
You guys
emails.
did all the boxing in the warehouse?
All
Yeah,
the boxing in
all
the
of it.
warehouse, and then
Okay,
we
and
cut
now?
the press.
And now we hired two pillow builders. We have
Pillow builders.
Yeah, and we have someone who is full-time on customer service.
I want to share with you a few things. Valuation, just not the right investment for me. I'm sorry. I'm out.
Thank you very much,
Thank you,
Lori.
Lori.
Yes.
Guys, you guys are super impressive. I think Lori makes a really good point about how competitive that industry is.
Yes, but nobody does what we're doing in terms of taking body stats, sleep positions, and preferences into account. And we have a utility patent pending. We have over 1.5
You have a
million data
utility
points
patent pending on
Yes.
what?
on the way we make the pillows combined with the algorithm. And we have over
Really?
1.5 million data points that no other company has in terms of like evidence on like what makes a good pillow.
I think 19 is just a little bit too much. We've seen triple-digit growth year over year since we started, and we feel like there's not really much in our way to keep growing. We do want some expertise.
Stick to your guns, guys. Stick to your guns.
Yeah.
All right. Robert made an offer and they turned him down. So I want to take a little bit of a break and take a look at their patent. They did get issued. It's a utility patent. You can get a patent for a method of making a pillow, and that's what they did. So it isn't the actual pillow itself, not the design of the pillow, but it's an adjustable orthopedic pillow comprising the actual. They do have elements here, so it is actually a pillow talking about rear and front surface, left and right, plurality of sections, and we talk about all these different head supports. So lots of different language here. That generally means it's more specific patent. lots of dividers, and then they have more dependent claims followed down below. So that is what they did get, and they have they've been in business now since 2019. The quick update on this utility patent is that they're still selling. Here's their website, Pluto.com, PlutoPillow.com. And even though they didn't get Shark Tank investment, they kind of use that marketing, if you will, to catapult their business. They're selling lots of different products now. So they've done quite well for themselves.
Very cool.
Matt,
any sense for why they chose Pluto as the brand?
You know, I had to skip around. We have to be careful not to do more than 4 minutes of sampling. But no, I didn't catch that.
Yeah.
It certainly seems, what's the term? Arbitrary.
Arbitrary, right? It's not suggestive. I have no idea how Pluto's connected to a pillow, but maybe there's some. I don't know. I'll look into it while we're chatting through it. But they have a few trademarks registered at the USPTO. So they're registered. All their applications and registrations are in the pillow class at the USPTO. So
got it.
Would like to see, an online retail store. That's a huge part of their success is direct to consumer. So we should protect that. There's money there, so let's protect it. That'd be my recommendation, just like it is for most of these folks that we look at.
Yeah, my only critique is, obviously they deserve the applause for getting a utility patent on a pillow, for goodness sakes, in 2022. Yeah.
That seems really creative, by the way.
You saw how long that claim was. And so the problem with the utility patent that long is to avoid infringement. All you have to do is not have just one of those elements in your pillow, and you're not infringing. So it's kind of the good and the bad of utility. And actually, as a tip, that's a nod to design patents and how simple. So Facel has two of those undeniable shape. And if anyone even comes very close to those shapes, they're going to be infringing. It's really hard to tell if you're going to make a pillow that's infringing that. And like I pointed out before, because it's so long, it's very possible to avoid infringement because of that claim having to be so specific. Julio or Facel, any comments as we kind of critique or give some pointers or things you noticed in that pitch?
Well, for me, one thing is cushion and another thing is support. When they talk that they use an algorithm to get you to the perfect pillow, I measure over 15 Perican craniums to get the dimensions of the pillow. So in this sense, this pillow, if you compare this pillow with that one, this is more than a pillow. This has nuances of a pillow and nuances of an orthosis. So it's different. And I don't see something unique there more than another pillow.
Right. Yeah, they found a unique way to kind of help people feel like they're customizing the pillow. They are in a way, but it's in your sort of what you're saying is they may not need a pillow. They need an orthopedic device. In many cases. Yeah. So it's a different product, different offering, different solution, different category. Julio, any final thoughts? We got to wrap up here.
I think that it's better to claim some sort of benefit backed by research than just bluff.
Right.
It's comfortable, it's nicer, it's softer. It's better to be on the medical device or close to the medical device side than in the retail generic bluff space. So I think Faze is like right in the direction where she's going.
Bring facts and evidence.
Yeah, exactly. Bring facts and evidence. You sell with numbers. You sell with stats. You sell with metrics.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think that's going to help you build a brand that you can really believe in. Sleep at night and truly get behind and last legacy. Right? You've got this true, fact research based product like you do, Facel. It's going to be a success for years to come. Not a flash in the pan novelty.
Absolutely. And you know what? It helps a lot. A lot of my clients, what they do is when they build a team on a startup, they get the top specialists from that therapeutic area. For example, if it is a cardiovascular device, they get the top specialist in the country. Usually it's a guy from the Johns Hopkins Medical Center in Baltimore, or the Beth Israel Medical Center in Boston. The top guy in that specialty, and that guy becomes the key opinion leader. And that guy's profile on the website, that guy is the one who presents. And that gives a lot of credibility to the device, or the product, in this case, to the pill. Yeah. You get the best sleep expert in the country to do a trial, even if it's 10 patients. You don't need much, just to claim that it's really therapeutic for his patients or her patients.
Well, thank you all for being a part of our Bold Inventor Show. I thank you for your time, Julio and Facel. Thanks a lot. Your stories will be here. We'll be able to share this across our channel on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. For Matt, myself, and our two guests, wishing you guys an awesome day. We'll be back next week at noon, our new time next week, Pacific time, Wednesday. Go big and go bold.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Go big, go bold at boldip.com.